Okay.
Before we get started, Bill, may I present the
Yeah.
minutes for March 17th, corrected for Kurt Annan's correction to you to give to Karen, and I'll be happy to take it over for you.
Thank you.
And I apologize for not having the minutes done for the last meeting, but there've been a lot of things that have come up since then. I haven't gotten to them yet.
You're excused.
4 or 5 months.
Okay, I'll declare the meeting open and accept the motion to open it.
So moved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Roll call. Conservation Commission.
Kurt Turner, present.
Open Space. Recreation.
Kurt Annan, present.
Planning Board.
David Jake was present.
Housing. Board of Selectmen.
Cliff Pierce, present.
Historic District, Frank Todd, present. Okay. The legal ads, based on Karen's talk with Stuart Saginaw, is that we don't have to put it in the paper as often as we have been.
So I talked with Stuart, because we need to have a meeting rather quickly to go over the draft warrant articles. And I asked him if it was necessary to publish every meeting. And he said that the board must hold a hearing once a year to the public to request public input for projects. And it can be held during a public meeting, but must be motioned, opened, and closed as a public hearing. Regular meetings do not need to be advertised. They only have to be posted 48 hours in advance, same as every other one.
I didn't realize we had been publishing every single meeting that we.
We have.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
That would be good. It would save us a lot of money,
Yeah, no,
Correct.
especially with the Newburyport
only
News.
the public hearing has to be published.
Well, the public meeting that we have to have once a year, I brought up at the last meeting, as I remember, and so I assume that, and we talked about doing that, before, in January or so, and so that would have to be
The public hearing, right.
published, and, we do 2 meetings at the same time,
Correct,
open and close,
Correct.
just like town meeting.
correct.
So we'd open and close one, and then
Same as planning
open and
board.
close the second one.
Yeah, special town meeting.
Yeah, because we don't open and close
Regular,
our meetings.
yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't know, the planning board doesn't open and close its meetings. I don't know if that's really required or not, but either does the selectmen. I don't know.
Well,
Doesn't hurt.
if you think about it, we're voting on something and we haven't had a meeting yet. I mean, the meeting hasn't opened, so how can we vote on
I mean, I think
something?
the chairman
No,
can
it-
declare it open.
I think so, too.
The way he explained it is, during an open meeting, you would say, at this point, we're opening the public hearing to hear
Right.
what
That's
types
what
of
we do.
requests.
Right.
And then, if there was no one here for the open hearing, it would just be noted and then
Right.
closed. So, or if someone wanted to speak.
But
I am attempting to
these are
record this meeting.
technicalities.
Good.
Okay. Well, welcome our guest.
Once
Vanessa.
again,
All right. The agenda is authorized spending from the administrative fund for appraisal of the playing fields by Pine Grove. Any comments?
we could get a letter from the selectmen, maybe
Is that,
that should be read into the record. Letter from Debbie Egan, rather.
It was this one, I think, the page before.
Do you want to use this?
One more page before. There you go.
The Board of, dear Chairman Todd, the Board of Selectmen has voted to request the Community Preservation Committee to authorize $3,400 to be used from the CPC administrative budget to appraise land contiguous to the playing fields at the Pine Grove School. The Board of Selectmen is interested in exploring the expansion of the Pine Grove School playing fields, and the first step is determine the value of the property. The Board of Selectmen would like to get this appraisal done as soon as possible so that they may start the planning process for playing field expansion. The Board of Selectmen appreciates the CPC's consideration of this request. Sincerely, Deborah Egan.
Is this a piece of land that's owned by somebody else?
Yes. Charlie Gwynn, I think. That's
Who
5
is it?
acres, right?
Charlie,
I'm not sure exactly.
But
who owns it?
Charlie Gwynn, well, his wife, really.
Okay.
Marilyn Chase.
It's adjacent to the existing field at Pine Grove.
Have you looked at it?
No, not personally.
Is this, I think actually technically, is it called Veterans Fields? Because I think that's the, if I remember right, the Harney and what is it, Flint Properties were purchased, gosh,
Oh, that's
close to 10
that's-
years ago.
They bought a Charlie Gwynn,
Okay, right, right.
and
So this is just an adjacent piece.
Right.
Additional adjacent
Right.
piece.
There's a
That
chance.
would be
It's
used,
just for the appraisal, so they can.
that would be used by the, I guess, for, by the Parks and Rec Committee for additional playing fields.
Right.
Yeah. I guess the one confusing thing for me is I think we had referred to the former Harney Flint properties as Veterans Fields, and this almost sounds like an expansion of the school playground area.
No,
And
the playground's behind.
Right, I
on
understand,
that side,
but-
yeah.
by referring to it as a Pine Grove School playing fields.
this goes all the way over to Bradstreet's Lane.
The land contiguous to the playing fields. So
Yeah.
Pine Grove.
That's my understanding.
Based on prior Conservation Commission review of matters in that area, it strikes me as that there have been some wet areas relative to that property, and I haven't looked at it. And I did call Brent Bazelak, conservation agent's attention to the situation. He said he would review it, and he said there's a possibility there may be some wetland things, but I'm not against the idea. I just think that it's part of the appraisal process that somebody needs to touch base with Brent to see if there are wetland considerations with regard to periodic flooding or.
That would be part of the appraisal, right? I mean, that's what
I
an
would hope
appraiser
so.
would do.
I don't know, because you hire an appraiser and they may or may not be familiar or enough with the property, or particularly in a drought area to think of those things. So I'm just giving a heads up that ought to be done.
Well, I can tell you a little bit about the property. There's a drain pipe runs from that property under Bradstreet's Lane, Elmwood Lane, whatever you want to call it. And it goes through there, across the end of the farm, then under the state highway, and on down Cross Street, and eventually ends up in Tanhouse Brook. But every spring, it looks like a large lake. And it's the drainage there back of Thurston's house is all towards the road, Bradstreet's Lane. And if the pipe was increased in size, it would probably take care of it. But it's choked off, the flow of water. And well, it's a case of I know too much. But when the pipe goes, it's a ditch across the end of the farm, then it's piped under Route 1A. And then when DeLorean built those houses across the street, what happened was the town gave him permission to pipe beyond those houses. And so we could get a septic system in. And so the whole thing is it's one of those things that got to be very carefully looked at, that's all. Because it's a good piece of land, it's 5 acres there, and it would do, you know, make the whole town look better as a recreation area, but it's one of the fallacies in the property,
One of the what?
fallacies,
The flooding?
Drainage.
the flooding.
Drainage.
But, I don't know, I've been thinking about that all day, what do I say? But it's definitely there, and I think, myself, that we probably should pass it on to the selectmen, and then the appraisal will show it up and probably what how they can rectify it and make it work. Because it's the land is like 10 inches of sand, loam, and then 4 or 5 feet of sand, and then
Oh.
clay, and
Yeah.
what have you. And so you have this situation, but it just, you know, a 10-inch pipe or 8-inch pipe or a 12-inch pipe under Bradstreet's Lane certainly isn't going to drain as much as it should.
Could there be blockage in the pipe?
I'm sure
That actually
there is.
is
I'm
a
sure there's a
substantial amount
muskrat
of pipe.
living in there.
Yeah, I suspect it's probably more the blockage than the size of the pipe. A 10-inch pipe should pass a lot of water.
But you know, the size of that pond out there, in among all the red maples, is substantial.
Okay.
It's more than an acre, might be 2. But the Gwynn property is 5 acres, and the water is not deep, but it settles there, and then eventually it drains out or dries out. But it's a good piece of land to have.
Is it a perforated pipe that's designed to collect the water, subsurface water that?
Oh, the only
No.
pipe is underneath the road.
Under the road.
Yeah. So it's
Now-
a solid pipe.
The town owns Bradstreet's Lane, 'cause
Right.
and the Conservation Commission does, is one or the other,
Mhm.
or the both. And my point is, if they gotta build a double lane highway in there to put their low-income housing in,
Mhm.
and things like that.
Affordable housing, not low income. That's a difference, big difference.
Illegal, man.
Well,
Right.
Well, so at that time, you're saying they could address the,
They could address that.
drainage.
That,
issue.
yeah, but the big thing, I would assume, is to have control of the property.
well, the appraisal's the first step, so.
Oh, yeah.
Who wants to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to authorize the expenditure of $3,400 to be used from the CPC administrative budget to appraise land contiguous to the playing fields at Pine Grove School.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Good. Now we'll move on to number 2. Discuss and amend vote to approve entire dollar amount from Mahaffey Farm for town meeting article.
So can I
Yep,
run through this real quick?
yep.
So I put in each one of your packets, there's Vanessa's original, and then there's a copy of the draft warrant article. There's been several changes throughout. It's gone through town council and the land grant, and we've talked with the CPC and the town accountant and the town treasurer, so there's been a lot of eyes on this, making sure that all the pieces are basically falling in place, but as we discussed in our last meeting, once the article is all drafted, there may be a point where we have to talk again, because in order for this all to move forward, that $450,000 would come out of the CPA. But all of it will fall back into place. So it's, the town is still only committed to the $100,000. But it still has to work through a certain process in order to make it flow and all happen. So actually, Debbie put together these pieces, and once you, I think, hear it, it makes a lot more sense. So the first one is the town meeting votes the $450,000 from the CPA account. Number 2, the town will receive the grant award letter in December. Number 3, sometime after town meeting and before the closing, Greenbelt will gift the town $100,000 towards the purchase of these funds, and these funds are deposited into the gift account. Number 4, the closing takes place and the town writes out a check to the Mahaffey Tenney Trust in the amount of $450,000. Number 5, the town files the paperwork with the state for the grant reimbursement for the amount awarded as stipulated in the grant award letter. Number 6, the town receives the grant funds which are deposited into the grant account. And number 7 would be to discuss and vote to establish gift account with the Greenbelt donation for the Mahaffey Farm Conservation Restriction. And so number 7 will also be discussed at the selectmen's meeting on Monday night. It's on their agenda already. But in order for this all to move forward, the board just needs to vote that the draft article that's there is acceptable, and that basically that the $450,000 can be used from the CPA account.
Right, my understanding is that we have to authorize the town to actually make an expenditure of $450,000
Yeah.
rather than $100,000. $100,000, which is just, that's the net cost to the town, but we still have to authorize the initial expenditure so we can get the reimbursement from the state.
Yeah.
So I guess, I can't remember the exact wording of the motion that we made and approved at our last meeting, but apparently we didn't do it exactly that way, so.
We had it at the threshold of $100,000.
Right,
Right.
but I would make a motion to appropriate $450,000 to enable the town to acquire a perpetual conservation restriction on the Mahaffey Farm, which shall be contingent upon the receipt of the state grant award letter, gifts, or other contributions received by the town for this acquisition of not less than $350,000. So basically, I'm just repeating the language of the warrant article with that motion.
28.8 acres.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
Well, I left some of the stuff out.
Okay.
I've got a couple of questions, and then I'd be willing to second it if no one else is. I'm still a little confused. Has the grant application gone in? So it's in for my understanding has been from prior conversations that we've had in these meetings, is that a full award of the grant would lower our CPAC's funding limit below $100,000. Is that still
That's
the
correct.
case? It doesn't
Yes.
say this in any of this literature that was just read.
I was thinking something along the same line, that what I think would be helpful is often articles are accompanied by explanatory notes. And in the explanatory note to say that the CPA would, if this proceeds as planned, that the CPA expenditure would be $100,000 or less.
Yeah, Debbie's gonna write and put an explanatory.
Okay,
note in. I did
that's
a-
good.
I asked
That's a
her
good
that,
point.
Yeah.
What is the lesser amount?
89.
89,000.
It's a 58% reimbursement on the full acquisition price,
Okay.
which comes out to $261,000.
What's this asterisk mean?
Grant account, after the word grant account?
Yeah. I see an asterisk and I look for the answer.
Oh, because they have to set up the grant account.
Good reason.
Sorry. it was part of a
And I guess the
whole-
intent is eventually that money, that 350,000 will go back to the CPC fund, but we're not exactly sure
Correct.
how that's
It
gonna
will
happen.
all be put
Okay.
back into the
We may
CPC.
take a town meeting article, I guess, to
No,
transfer that money
this,
back. No?
this should cover all of it, because what happens is we basically write out the check, and then we have the $100,000 of Greenbelt money, and then we go back to the land grant, with the paper, correct?
Right.
Yeah, you
And-
basically show them the
Show
canceled
them.
check, yeah.
Show them that we've done all the pieces of the puzzle, and then they in turn reimburse us.
Into the.
And it would go to the CPA fund, which can accept gifts and grants, contributions.
Now, if the grant doesn't come through in the same amount that's been requested, but a lower amount,
It shouldn't. My understanding from the grant administrator is that the reimbursement is based on that percentage.
but if for any reason it does,
Yeah.
I mean, they have lots of applications for grants, I assume, and they may
Yeah.
decide to apportion the money in different ways, so it's theoretically possible. Does that kill the whole deal in terms of the Mahaffey Farm project,
No, I think Greenbelt would then be on the hook for making up the difference.
including getting us down to 89,000?
No,
$100,000.
getting you down to
100,000.
100,000.
Nice try.
I tried.
I could see that working through your brain.
Okay, then I will second Cliff's motion in accordance with the discussion we just had.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Do we need a motion to approve the draft article? I mean, maybe just for the sake of covering all our bases, we should do that.
Is it really complete?
Well, it's,
It says final, so.
you know, it's been approved apparently by everyone who needs to approve it, so.
I make a motion that we approve the draft final article.
Second.
With the understanding that there's going to be an explanatory note along the lines. that-
Well,
Yes.
there will be such a thing.
Who
Any
seconded
further
it?
discussion?
Sorry.
I don't know who seconded it.
Thank you.
But
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Let's see, number 3,
Guess you
public
could go.
hearing.
Thanks, Vanessa.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Vanessa.
Thanks for coming.
Appreciate your help.
Good night, everyone.
Right. Public hearing versus posted meeting.
I think we
We
just,
already do that?
we did that first.
You didn't have to vote on it.
Welcome to the club. Okay. Number 4, request from Board of Selectmen to add $15,000 to Article, whatever it is. Well, it's,
Special- it's
Elevator
from
project.
a previous town meeting, so it's Article
Okay.
13, special town meeting, 11/14/05.
to cover costs related to
Design
design
of
of
elevator.
elevator addition. KOD. That's you. Okay. You want to explain it?
There's a letter in the
Yep.
back
Last page.
addressed to you.
Very last page.
I presume it's more than the elevator itself.
Really?
Well, I'm looking at the fee.
Oh. The 15,000, or, well, this is the added.
No, this added to 30,000, right?
That's potentially, yeah. But
One more.
did you want to, oh,
The
were
last
you
time
gonna
I
say anything more about that? Oh, okay.
I don't think that's
I
me.
think he might want to read it.
Huh?
I thought he might want to read it in
You
first.
gonna read this letter, Frank? Or do you want me to?
Okay. Yeah. Would
Huh?
you? Would you?
Okay. Mr. Frank Todd, dear Chairman Todd, from Deborah Egan, Town Administrator. The Board of Selectmen is requesting the Community Preservation Committee to consider appropriating $15,000 from the Historic Resources Reserve and/or the unreserved account to be used for architectural and engineering design costs for an elevator addition of the Town Hall Annex. This appropriation will cover costs not covered under contract funded through the original appropriation of $30,000. So basically, I mean, this is there's a need for additional funds to do the design work and the architectural work, or additional things that aren't going to be covered by the $30,000. They just want to be able to move forward with this and get it done before the next town meeting, spring town meeting. But basically, what they're thinking of, they might need to do such things like hazardous testing, hazardous materials testing, or they may need to spend additional money to have the architect appear at additional town meetings to explain the project, like town meeting or things of that nature. So it's just a cover miscellaneous items that won't be covered under the existing, under the contract that's going to be entered into with the firm, I believe at the next selectmen's meeting. Does that make sense?
Somewhat, yeah.
Somewhat?
How much do elevators cost? It's gotta be a lot more than $45,000.
That would.
This is
Yeah,
just, this is just design service.
I know.
Just the
I
design
know,
survey.
I thought you said it
and-
would cost more than the elevator.
I didn't quite say that.
I thought you did say that.
Well, it depends. You gotta go from basement to first to second. I don't know if they're gonna go to the attic or not, but
I don't know if it's been
I've
determined
never
to go
been
to
in
the
the
basement.
attic in that building. But, what they want to do is be able to use the rooms upstairs for
Makes sense.
handicapped and
Right.
things like
Right.
that.
And it has to do with ADA compliance as well.
Right, and it's gotta go all the way through for the basement for the weights and the measures down. I'm thinking, it used to be coal-fired stove there, and Old Shot used to go over every morning and he'd shovel the coal, and that's what heated the building. And then he'd go up the little school, which was Ezekiel Rogers, and do the same thing. It was all coal-fired in the old days. And is that building, do they use gas now? Natural gas? Or-
oil, I mean.
I was curious,
But they-
because
they-
I'm thinking of
I don't see an oil tank there.
the size of
I've never
the,
been in the basement. Been up top.
you never played marbles in the basement?
Not in that school. Center School in Wenham. Very good one. But they also have handicap toilet issues there.
Yes, apparently.
Are they gonna be covered in this contract?
Well, not with this $15,000.
No, but-
Right, yeah. Well, that's to be determined, I think, but the answer is probably yes.
What kind of issues?
Lavatory.
Handicap.
Oh,
Handicap
Second floor
lavatory.
toilet.
If you're gonna do something to the building, it might as well be brought up to date. It's, and they can take the ramp off the side of the building
Mhm.
too.
this is all compliant with,
Well, that, I mean, that's what they're working
That's what the
towards.
goal is.
no, I mean, with this, with the CPAC requirements that you've cleared with Stewart.
Yes,
I think you said that at the last meeting.
yes. There's 27 projects on record that have been done to historic buildings with elevators and bringing them up to
Great.
code as far as ADA compliance.
You've gotta go to historic
Yeah,
commission, I would
Right.
presume.
Is the elevator system gonna be inside or outside?
I do not know.
I think that's yet to be determined, although
Because I
Probably
know
be inside.
Boxford had it on the outside, and I've been to meetings over there at their town hall, the old town hall, and it was like going in the ice box.
yeah. I think the feeling is that it ought to be inside, but
Well, the reason what I was saying was where it was coal-fired and all of that, was, that's a very large chimney section that runs up through there. And it makes you wonder, Oh, where does it fit? What closet does it go up through?
Well, it's also set by ADA requirements for the wheelchair, et cetera. We just did one for a church out in Marlboro, so very familiar. And it is better inside. I did a building in Beverly with it on the outside and it had outside access, and anybody who was looking for a urinal used the elevator. Because most of our cities don't have proper lavatory facilities.
Understand.
There's lots of room in the stairwell areas, as I recall, but whether you still, I assume you'd still have to have stairs as a second means of egress, or,
You do.
but those stairs probably could be skinnied down significantly.
There's always space, you know, particularly in wood frame. You're lucky it's wood frame, you know. 'Cause
Okay.
I tell people when they think about renovation in wood frame, it's easy. You need a sawzall and then a few beams and posts and you're all set.
A little glue and putty?
Well, I can remember when 100 kids used to come down there on the fire drills down those stairs and out the door.
How many came back?
They all did, because Anna Collins was standing there. All she had to do was look out the window, the second floor, across the yard, and everybody that was playing out there just stopped until she got out of the window.
It was like our superintendent or principal, yeah.
Okay.
I think, we ready for a vote?
Well, I'll make a motion to authorize expenditure of an additional $15,000 from the Historic Resources Reserved and/or the unreserved account to be used for architectural and engineering design costs of an elevator addition at the Town Hall Annex Building.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion passes.
What's next?
Now I'll accept the motion to go home.
I have a question for Karen, first of all. You've supplied financial information sheets in here.
Yeah, it's actually the one from the last meeting.
It's exactly the same.
It's exactly the same.
And what was the as-of date of all of those items? The date of the meeting or the date of the prior month end?
Prior month end.
Okay, great, thank you.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second?
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You were right, Karen.
Thank
Did
you.
okay.
Well, 35 minutes.
Not bad.
Good job pulling all that together so quickly.
Yes.